They said I was too emotional to attend my own husband's will reading. I stood on the wooden hallway, hand gripping the cold rail. That night, I opened the cream envelope he left, a thin codicil. By morning, the man trying to evict me stood frozen. I made chicken soup like every Friday, parsley fanned green on the board, steam fogging the window to a thin film. Autumn in our Midwestern river town presses into your bones like a low note. My husband's old bamboo clock, he was a veteran who liked to do things slow and precise, ticked, and the tiny kitchen felt warm, even with the wind scraping under the eaves. My phone buzzed, a text from my daughter. "Mom, you probably shouldn't come to the will reading. I'm afraid you'll get emotional. Let us handle it. It'll be easier." The word emotional hit my eyes like a dark stain. I stood still, soup on my hands, and heard the furnace cough to life with a dry click. We paid off this house the winter the snow piled to the doorknob. Back then, he laughed. "That's one debt I won't leave you." Now they were telling me to stand outside my own story because of feelings. I put on his gray wool coat he wore when the air sank to the bone and walked to the lawyer's office. The hallway runner said, "Welcome," worn to a blur. Inside, the reception smelled like new paper. My son-in-law, the one who talks about optics and keeping the house young, stood up with a half smile. "Let us keep this neat, Mom. Maybe you sit this one out." The lawyer added gently, "You're emotional. We want a smooth reading." They closed the door on me with a polite click. I sat on the bench outside. Cold needled my knees. Leaves cracked into yellow shards across the lawn. Through the window, I watched them smile and flip pages, while I, the woman who's ladled 1,000 bowls of soup in a mortgage-free kitchen, was told my tears didn't fit the ceremony. When they finally let me in, it was over. Accounts, items, divisions, all rattled off. I nodded like a figure in a painting, while inside I felt like an old blanket wrung tight. By late afternoon, my son-in-law put a stack of papers on my kitchen table. "Sign these so we can transfer the house. We'll change the locks for safety, and we've got a sponsored interior shoot. Big opportunity." He said transfer like changing a shirt. I looked at the scratch in the sink where my husband slipped that winter, watched the light roll down the spoon rack. "I'll look it over," I said. He frowned, left a pen and a few pages stamped, "Notice." That night, while clearing the table, I found a cream-colored envelope under my herb-pressed cookbook. My husband's handwriting tipped right and a little stiff. Blue ink. "Read when you're alone." I sat, hands shaking just enough to hear paper hiss. Inside was a codicil, thin as a leaf, dated, witnessed, and a long paragraph in his hand, the letters firm. The large cash portion of the estate becomes a restricted fund for the Veterans Clinic, limited to free Saturday clinics, counseling, and replacing hearing aids for those in need. Audit approval and project sign-off belong to you. Not a dollar moves without your signature. Residence clause. My wife may remain in the house for life. No sale or mortgage without her written consent. I set my palm on the page. It felt like touching the heel of his old service boots, solid, without noise. I understood at once. The smooth reading had never mentioned this codicil. Whether by error or choice, the part he left me privately was left outside the professional process someone was so proud of. Wind pushed river air through the screens that night. Curtains puffed. I did what he always told me. Write down what you'll forget. I listed in my square-ruled notebook: heirlooms, the bamboo kitchen clock, our cracked wedding china, his mother's lace tablecloth, house papers, the final mortgage release, the storm year roofing receipt, the heating bills from that long winter, last year's property tax, names and numbers, the nurse at the Veterans Clinic, the one who said, "He told me if he goes first, this fund is for people with the card, and his wife will watch it." I photographed every corner with my old phone. The strip of sun on the floorboards, the hairline crack on the step, the rocker where he untied his boots. Each item got a sticky note number. When I finished, I slipped the codicil into my coat pocket, the place I used to hide quarters for candy. People said I was too emotional. I felt just steady enough to read the small print. Morning. My daughter came in, eyes avoiding mine. My son-in-law stood behind her with a small camera. "Just sign so we can reset the space," he said. "This house suits us better. The audience loves natural light." I pulled out 2 cups of tea. "Sit. Read this." I laid a codicil copy on the table and tapped. "Start at line 3. He smirked. "Loose paper." I turned the page and pointed to the italics. "Restricted funds, subject to audit approval by spouse." His lip jumped. My daughter swallowed. I opened a bank letter. "Temporary freeze on disbursements until an audit report with my signature." I didn't say don't or no. The paper spoke. The kitchen air got heavy like before rain. At the market, I bought celery and a neighbor whispered, "Saw strangers around your porch last night." I nodded. I already knew. A few antiques had vanished during their let us handle things days. I checked my list and added exclamation marks beside the cracked china and the bamboo clock. The bright cold made my eyes sting, but not from tears. That afternoon, my son-in-law set a 30-day notice to vacate on the counter. "It's the law," he said. I read it end to end, slid it into a certified mail envelope with a codicil copy and a short letter. "Dear children, I respect the law. Here is the law. I hold a life estate per the codicil. Any action contrary to this clause is void. As to funds, they are restricted, disbursable only after my audit approval for the Veterans Clinic. Love." That evening, I sat under the porch light with my crazed glaze mug warm in my hands. Online, I saw their vague video. Some elders hold the past and block the future. Comments split. One wrote, "She fed you for years. Say thank you." Another snapped, "Whose money is it?" I put the phone down. I don't live by comments. Sunday bells rang. After Mass, Father asked if I needed anything. "A public room," I said, "with witnesses." He nodded. "Parish Hall, Wednesday." While waiting, I stopped by the clinic. Nurse Marta showed me a revised proposal. I read and asked simple things. Who signs? Where are invoices kept? Who reports monthly? Her answers were neat as ruled lines. "He liked tidy tables," I said. She smiled. "I've heard." Tuesday's mail brought the estate lawyer's apology for failing to mention the codicil and an invite to a supplemental reading. I set it aside. I'd chosen sunlight over a closed room, public matters in a public place, among people who'd watched me run home with him in a storm and hang the new porch towel on his retirement day. That night, I listened to the river. The sky was dark ink. I thought of his audiology visits when the left ear dulled. "Home again," he'd say. "The quietest things are worth hearing if you listen hard." People said I was too emotional. I was doing the least emotional thing, reading small print, stepping slow, counting cups, asking where invoices sleep. Feeling is a boiling pot. What I was doing was the valve, so it wouldn't spill. The parish hall smelled like pine and coffee. Folding chairs faced a long table. Eleanor was there in her sea green scarf. Father held the house rules. No shouting, no pointing. I stacked the codicil, bank letter, clinic plan, photos, and my handwritten inventory. My daughter and her husband came late. He carried a pocket camera. I looked at the camera, then at Father. "No recording today," Father said. A pout, then the camera disappeared. We sat. The wall clock counted like rain. I read the codicil slowly. My husband's name, the date, the 2 witnesses. I paused at the heart. The 7-figure cash portion shall be a gift to the Veterans Clinic, audit approval by my wife. I didn't look at them. I looked at the page as if it had his eyes. I read the residence clause. My wife may live in the house for her life. I set the paper down, tapped the pen on the edge. This is your father's will, the man you love. He sighed, leaning forward. Mom, we're not against the clinic. We just want stable housing to work. The house is really old. It's not safe for you. I printed the 30-day notice because that's the general law. I cut in. General law doesn't sit above a valid will. Your notice is void against a life estate clause. I sent you the certified letter with the codicil. Did you receive it? He pressed his lips. Yes. Someone hummed an in the room, the auto shop owner who once changed my husband's oil for free after a veterans meeting. I read the bank's freeze letter aloud. Until the audit report signed by the spouse, no disbursement. I placed the clinic's late Saturday plan beside it. I will approve this, I said, starting with 2 portable audiometers. My husband used to say, a grandchild's voice shouldn't be blocked by a wallet. Eleanor dabbed her eyes. My daughter stared at the floor. He softened, trying a new tack. Then let us stay here 3 months to shoot a contract series. We'll move after. We won't touch your things. I didn't hate him, and I didn't bend. No, I said, this is my home. I won't sign consent to transfer, to mortgage, or to turn it into a set. If you want the back apartment at Helen's, the sign says for rent. I'll cover half the deposit. You cover the rest. My daughter lowered her head. He smirked. You want to keep us small. I said, I want you to stand up. The door opened. The estate lawyer hurried in, breathless. He apologized. I've re-reviewed the file, he said. We failed to present the codicil. I'll read it now for the record. He bowed his head. I stared at my thin paper cup of coffee. There was no triumph. There was a mistake, an admission, and a new line of ink on thick paper. He tried one more angle. What about the things? We're reorganizing. I raised my hand. I have the inventory. Some items returned themselves in cardboard boxes at my doorstep. I won't ask for their route. I only care about their return. No one spoke. A few neighbors glanced at each other and nodded. I closed the folder. The rest, I said, voice quivering a little, is family. My daughter and I will speak alone. Father looked at the rules sheet, then up with a tired smile. Thank you, everyone. As the room thinned, my daughter paused in the doorway, face tired, lip bitten pale. Mom, she whispered, I lost the handle. Everything moved too fast. I was afraid to miss a chance. I nodded. There's another kind of loss, I said, losing yourself. She cried without sound. I held her hand, cold as the winters when she fell in the snowbanks. That night, I brewed peppermint tea. The soup pot still kept warmth under the lid. I ladled a small bowl and set it by his photo. Tomorrow, I said, I'll sign the first approval. I started with the oldest habit, cleaning drawers, not to tidy, but to remember. I pulled out the thick, square-ruled notebook my husband called the soup log. A coin-sized oil stain on the cover. I wrote every item, every scratch, the way noon light hits the glass door. My memory isn't fast at this age, but it clings like sun-cured leather. I photographed the bamboo clock, then the cracked wedding china, largest plate chipped when his hand slipped that winter. Photo, note, shelved. The rocker where he listened to the radio. Each item got a yellow tag number. I was a one-woman librarian, few patrons, no shortcuts. 2 days later, a bright rectangle showed in the drawer where his tin stamp box should be. It was gone. I inhaled the sharp smell of the window cleaner I'd sprayed that morning. No crying. I typed old stamps and our town into a collectibles search. In under 10 minutes, a new account posted photos of century stamps, my lace tablecloth peeking at the edge. I screenshotted and emailed it to myself, then went to Eleanor's house. White hair, bent back, a bell on her porch. She gave me a violet china cup. Tell me, she said. When I showed her, she squinted. This account started last night. Says estate pieces from the river. Sounds familiar. She took my hand, small and warm. Do you have paper on staying in the house? I nodded and told her about the codicil. She breathed out. He was a smart man. I knew him. At the Veterans Clinic Saturday morning, I showed the codicil to Nurse Marta. He talked about this money a lot, she said. He called it noise-canceling money so people can hear their families. She handed me a slim proposal. Late Saturday clinics, add 2 portable audiometers for nearby towns. Sign, and we start in 3 weeks, she said. Soon, I replied. One more thing first. That evening, I met a different lawyer. No ties to the first. I brought the codicil, photos, the list, and bank letters. He pushed his glasses up, read and penciled notes. He explained as if sounding out words for a child. Valid codicil, dated, witnessed, signed. Life estate, you may live there for life. Restricted funds means purpose-bound, no personal use. Thank you, I said. He asked, what next? Order, I said, not victory. Order. I made tea at home. The shell wind chime he'd hung after a veteran's beach trip clicked softly. I wrote my daughter a letter. I understand your hurry. Read the life estate clause. I will live here for my life. The money flows where it's meant to go. I'll see you after my bank appointment. I sealed it, tapped it like nodding to myself. 3 days later, a pickup dropped 2 boxes at my door with my name on them, returned items. The cracked china, the tin stamp box, the small bedroom clock. No note. I checked them off, no comment. Whether fear, conscience, or a whisper, I didn't care. Old people's inventories sometimes have more force than arguments. At the bank, the teller remembered me. She slid a letter across the desk for my signature to notify all beneficiaries about the restricted funds and audit requirements. I signed. My Y trembled, still legible. I walked down Main Street past the bakery as its first tray browned. Butter and sugar lifted into the air, and I remembered Christmas. I saw him in his old coat, red hands. Buy 2, he'd say. 1 for now, 1 so we won't be sorry tomorrow. That night, his video surged. Invisible walls and families. No names, but everyone knew. Warm light, sad music, smoky words. We want a future, but the past binds us. Comments poured in, some defending, some scolding. I shut the phone. I don't live by threads. Sunday, the parish hall was booked. While waiting for Wednesday, I visited the clinic again. Marta had tightened the proposal. I asked plain questions. She answered with tidy lines. He loved neat tables, I said. I've heard, she smiled. Tuesday, the estate office mailed a proper apology and a supplemental reading. I chose not to sit in a sealed room. We'd make a record under lights. That night, the river slapped softly. He used to say, turn feelings into a valve, not a flood. So I did. 3 weeks later, the clinic's whiteboard said in marker, open late Saturdays, free hearing checks. I stood by the sign-in desk. Marta scribbled names. In the corner, 2 older men tried new devices. The dry hiss in their ears turned back into real whispers. One looked at me, tears behind thick lenses. I can hear my wife, he said. My throat filled with wind. That afternoon, the county scheduled the supplemental reading. I wrote back, I'll attend with a veterans representative, a bank rep, and direct stakeholders present. They agreed. On the day, rain veiled the streets. The room smelled of new paper. The floor shined. Everyone I'd asked to attend was there. My daughter and her husband, too. I arrived 10 minutes early with his dark umbrella. The clerk set a recorder on the table and nodded. The estate lawyer read carefully. Previously, our office failed to include the codicil. We now present it for the record. He recited the 7-figure amount restricted to the clinic, audit approval by the spouse, life estate to the wife, no sale, mortgage, or commercial use without her written consent. I watched the page, not faces, and felt a calm beat in my chest. The bank rep read the freeze notice. Disbursements resume upon receipt of the spouse-signed audit report. She lifted another envelope. The clinic plan was in. Monday's first release would go through. He cleared his throat. No smile left. Then what about funds for safety upgrades? I lifted my head. That money is bound to the clinic. As for safety, I've called the fire department. They'll inspect today. I'll pay for repairs from my own retirement savings. I turned to my daughter, softer. If you want to help fix the porch rail, I'll accept. Paid with money you earn, not what you call the past. Keys clicked in the clerk's hands. The room smelled less like paper and more like damp coats, the kind that make people kind. The estate lawyer closed the file, apologized again without hedging. I made you endure an unfair day, he said. We'll upload the corrected record today. I nodded. No, it's fine. No, I forgive you. Just a nod, the kind that states a fact. At home, the town's small fire truck was already out front. 2 firefighters, one young, one gray, probed the soft wood on the porch rail, wrote a list, replace rail, shore up steps, trim branches near the line, add a smoke detector in the back hall. Your house is warm, the older one said. Keep it warm. We'll send you a fair carpenter. I thanked them. That night, my daughter texted, I'm sorry I took your seat in that room. I let things run too far. I typed slowly, I'll keep the house. You keep your own heart. If you want dinner without filming, I'll open the door. She sent a small heart. I tucked the phone beside my inventory. A week later, I had the codicil laminated at the copy shop. The clerk smiled. Beautiful paper. Laminate will keep it safe. Exactly, I said. I hung a copy in my metal file with photos of him when he was young, brown skin, eyes laughing like a boy. At home, the town's small fire truck was already out front. 2 firefighters, one young, one gray, probed the soft wood on the porch rail, wrote a list, replace rail, shore up steps, trim branches near the line, add a smoke detector in the back hall. Your house is warm, the older one said. Keep it warm. We'll send you a fair carpenter. I thanked them. That night, my daughter texted, I'm sorry I took your seat in that room. I let things run too far. I typed slowly, I'll keep the house. You keep your own heart. If you want dinner without filming, I'll open the door. She sent a small heart. I tucked the phone beside my inventory. A week later, I had the codicil laminated at the copy shop. The clerk smiled. Beautiful paper. Laminate will keep it safe. Exactly, I said. I hung a copy in my metal file with photos of him when he was young, brown skin, eyes laughing like a boy. A month later, the clinic report arrived. 48 checks, 12 repairs, 3 replacements. I set it beside a jar of wild daisies. It's not a big number for the world, but for our town, it's a tune you can hear. I signed the second release, my hand steadier. Spring nosed in. Brown birds tapped the eaves, chattering like needles through cloth. I wiped his photo frame and said to the air, grandkids laughing, my daughter saying hello, church bells. We can hear them all again, can't we? I thought of the old soldier with the new device. I didn't catch the endearment he used for his wife, but I saw relief bloom on her mouth. People want to talk about money. They say money shows who we are. I don't know. I just know money is water. In a ditch, it stinks. In a channel, it cools. I spent an afternoon with the bank teller reading fees, interest, and release limits. At my age, learning is like snapping a twig. Slow, then done. That evening, my daughter came with a paper bag. Dinner? She asked. Tomato sauce breathed from the bag like a kitchen exhale. Come in. No filming. She handed me her phone so I could switch it off. A small ceremony. She set down 2 plastic boxes. The sauce is a little salty, she said. Our house likes salty, I answered. We ate and talked about pansies on the porch, deer in the yard, and how she could write more and film less. Writing is quieter, I said. After, she said, he wants to apologize, but he's juggling work. I told him later. I nodded. He doesn't need to come here to apologize, I said. He just needs to do right next time. She held me, awkward but real. Her hair smelled like childhood, soap and warm milk. Night put a skim of fog on the window. I wiped it with a dish towel. In the cleared glass, I saw my silhouette, smaller than I feel, but straight. People said I was too emotional. Maybe they don't know that grief comes with discipline, knowing when to stand on the porch while they shut the door, knowing to open an envelope alone, reading every period, saying no without raising your voice. One morning, a car pulled up. My son-in-law stood at the steps without a camera, scratching his head. "Mom," he said, "can I ask to use the back shed for one afternoon, just to take photos for an article, not a video? I'll sign anything, no contact with the house." I looked at him, then at the shed. "Roof needs a new sheet, red paint flaking." "Why?" I asked. "I want to write about how young people talk to elders," he said. Truthfully, no audience talk. "No," I said first, then, "but you can sit on this porch with me. Drink tea. I'll tell you, you write. No photos, just notes." He nodded. An hour later, we faced each other, steam between us. He asked, I answered. He wrote, not filmed. When clouds came and wind picked up, I said, "That's all. I have soup." He stood, bowed a little, and stepped off the porch without making that usual creak. I looked at the dented board. He'd always said he'd replace it. Early summer, I told myself. A week later, an anonymous piece appeared on a local site. Someone sent me the link. No photos, just words. No audience. One line read, "Sometimes the no we hear is teaching us how to be family, not how to lose." I don't know if he wrote it. I wondered less. I had other work. The second clinic release, a box of porch screws, and the herb seed calendar. Summer arrived with the smell of fresh-cut grass. I hung a small porch light, the kind he teased me about for wasting power, though I used an efficient bulb. At dusk, the yellow wash looked like memory. I set a low chair on the porch, took my crazed glaze mug, and placed his photo beside the laminated codicil. It looked like a wedding card delivered late. The clinic's quarterly report, 174 checks, 37 repairs, 9 replacements, plus a new group counseling night for spouses. I signed the third release. The pen slid easy. In my head, I heard his soft chuckle, the sound of a pencil tapping wood. There are 2 kinds of bows. The town's bow when someone names the right thing, and the private bow when someone trusts they still belong in the circle, even at the edge. My daughter drops by with pastries or spools of thread. We talk short, then longer. One day she brings a dusty photo album from the back shed. We sit, him in broad-shouldered uniform, me in a loud floral dress that wouldn't fit now, a baby balanced in my arms, a yard deep in snow. She touches the page. "I remember the smell of towels drying in the bathroom," she says. "Cheap detergent," I laugh. "But clean," she says. My son-in-law hasn't visited. I don't wait, but I add another hook to the porch rack. One day a wet coat might need a place. I don't forgive with speeches. I install a hook. Some call it weak, some wise. I don't need a name for it. I do it the way my husband did things. Leave room for bad weather. A thin rain passed the town. The kitchen smelled of damp wood. I stirred a pot of cream corn soup with the worn wooden spoon. The wind chime clinked. I remembered the day they called me too emotional. Maybe I aged 5 years in one morning. Aging helped me go slow. Going slow got me to the right place. The doorbell rang. Marta stood with an 80-year-old veteran wearing a new hearing aid. He handed me a paper bag. Inside, "Thank you." Today, I heard the sound of my wife chopping celery. I laughed. I poured tea. He cupped the mug, eyes bright. "I thought kitchen sounds had left me." he said. Turns out they were just waiting. I nodded and thought I heard my husband's whistle in the draft. Late, by the window, I wrote in my notebook, rail replaced, step leveled, porch light brighter. Then one last line, home is still home. I underlined it 3 times without a tremor. People argue at markets, online, in meeting rooms. Should money go to family first or community first? I don't have an answer that fits both. I have his choice. He didn't choose between our child and a stranger. He chose a way for our child to learn to stand and a way for strangers to hear the people who love them. He put me between those 2 tasks, not to suffer, but to do what women often do, keep the lid from boiling over. I switch on the porch light every Saturday. The clinic stays open late. Yellow pools on the house numbers, dust dancing in it. I imagine him at the gate, old shoes, bent back, laughing eyes. He'd say, "You read the small print, huh?" I'd say, "You wrote it clearly." We'd sit. He'd taste the soup first, say it's salted just right. I'd add, "They called me emotional." Maybe I am, but I remembered to turn the flame down. I leave the door open a crack on windy nights, not for anyone, but to give the wind a path. If there's a knock, I'll answer with onion on my hands and ask, "No filming, right?" If the answer is no, I'll open wider. Old women don't slam doors. We choose when to open them. Sometimes that's all it takes for a house to stay a house, a place where people sit, breathe slow, listen, and respect each other the way a kitchen clock ticks. Steady, not showy, never skipping a beat. The next fall, the clinic held a small Thanksgiving. They asked me to say a few words. "I only sign," I said. People laughed. "But every signature is a voice," I added. Voice lives everywhere, out on yesterday's field, in tonight's kitchen, in the neighbor's handshake, in the pencil tap of a husband who went ahead. His money runs in the right direction because the road was already there, the road toward each other. I stepped down. Coffee smelled familiar. My daughter stood at the aisle's end, eyes wet, hand gripping her bag. I walked over. She hugged me, the clumsy hug of an adult, but a real one. Outside, a maple leaf let go. I thought of that thin leaf, like the codicil that day. One sheet takes years to write right. One house takes years to pay down. One kinship takes many nights to fold back into shape. Nothing arrives fast, but if it arrives and you keep it, it stays. On my way home, I stopped at the bakery and bought 2 small pies. At home, I set one before his photo and kept one for myself. The crust broke sweet, not too much, just right. Dusk turned the river to pewter under the hill. The porch light clicked on, as always, at 6. It threw itself across the steps like an answer that needs no words. At this age, I'm grateful for answers without words, and for a paper thin as a leaf that quieted a lot of noise. Because of it, I learned to say no without shouting. Because of it, others learned to say yes without feeling beaten. Because of it, the soup never boiled over, and because of it, the house stays a house.